I don't always eat a bedtime snack, but when I do, I always want cereal. And luckily for me, I have found a delightful, perfect keto cereal. Look at this! They came out with cereal. 2 flavors. And that's what I'm going to have for my bedtime snack. They have cinnamon and honey nut. And right now, you can get these brand new cereals for 35% off. Actually, you can get all of their products for 35% off from now until March 7th. So definitely go over there and check it out. It's very crunchy and very tasty. Hi guys, welcome back to CJ's Keto Kitchen. If you're new here, I make home-style recipes made ketogenic. We hope that you will consider subscribing and coming back and seeing us again. Today, I'm going to be making a zesty triple lemon mug cake. So come along with me and let's get started.
Wow, that's zesty. It puts the D in delicious.
So when I was younger, my dad's favorite recipe was actually a lemon cake, and it was a triple lemon cake, and it was a recipe from his Aunt Jeanette. So I made it quite often when I was a young adult because it was his favorite. I decided that I wanted to make something that would be equally delicious, but also ketogenic, and in the mug cake form. It seems that our subscribers really enjoy mug cakes, and they do provide ease and portion control. So that's what I have done today. So let's go ahead and get started with this easy, zesty recipe. This is going to make a 2-serving mug cake, but I'm going to be using 1 ramekin for this. If you wanted to use smaller ramekins, you could. This is the size of my ramekin, and it doesn't say on the bottom, so that won't be helpful. Even though I'm going to be using a ramekin in my microwave, I'm going to do my mixing in my Pyrex measuring bowl. So I'm going to be starting with 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing my wet ingredients into my Pyrex first. So after we have zested our lemon, I cut it, and I am now going to ream it and put 2 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice into our liquids. So there is our 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. Next, I am going to add our sweetener. This is also 2 tablespoons. And this is granular monk fruit erythritol. I'm going to be adding a little bit of lemon oil, or you could, of course, use lemon extract if you can't find lemon oil. I'm able to find the Loran's lemon oil on Amazon very readily, and it's always linked in our Amazon favorites list. And I want about a 1/2 teaspoon, so that's about probably 5 drops. It's quite intense, and that's why I enjoy it so much. I'm also going to use just a tiny squeeze of liquid sweetener because I like the taste that this provides, and it helps to offset any cooling. But that is completely optional. The next ingredient that I'm going to be using is a 1/2 teaspoon of gelatin. Mine happens to be lemon flavored, and it is sugar-free. You could use plain gelatin. If you don't have gelatin, you don't have to have it, but I do find that it provides a nice moist texture to cakes, and that's why gelatin is used quite often in cakes. And this was part of the triple part of my great Aunt Jeanette's lemon cake that I like to replicate. So once again, that's a half a teaspoon of gelatin powder. So the last moist ingredient or wet ingredient for our lemon cake is going to be 1 egg yolk. I find that I prefer using just the singular yolk in my mug cakes. And so this is just 1 separated egg and it's the yolk alone. I'm now going to start adding the dry ingredients. The first dry ingredient is 3 tablespoons of almond flour. I also have 1 tablespoon of coconut flour. And for our leavening in this, I want to use baking powder, and I want 1/2 teaspoon. I also want 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I find that salt is very important in desserts. And I'm just going to thoroughly combine these, the wet and the dry ingredients together, making sure that you scrape everything from the bottom of your mixing bowl. If you're doing this in your mug, that's awesome. Just be sure that you are making sure everything is very well combined. Now, lastly, I am going to go ahead and put in the zest that we just zested. And that is going to give us that zesty flavor, no pun intended. Okay, so there is our cake batter. So I have my ramekin here, and I have lightly oiled it with some non-stick avocado oil. So I have an 1100 watt microwave, and I always start my mug cakes at about 45 seconds and then just see how it has set after that. I like to go smaller increments just so I don't overcook. So I'm going to start at 45 seconds for my cake. It's not quite done. The center is still a little bit loose, so I'm going to go another 10 seconds. Okay, so mine took about 80 seconds, and I'm just going to let it cool for a second. Okay, so I promised you triple lemon cake, and I am going to provide that for you in the form of our lemon glaze. So in order to start your lemon glaze, you are going to need 2 more tablespoons of melted butter. And I have this here in my measuring cup. To our melted butter, we are going to add 1.5 tablespoons of confectioner's erythritol. So that is powdered natural sweetener. You also want 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. I'm going to put just a tiny squeeze of liquid sweetener. Once again, this is always optional. And then to make this extra lemony, we are going to be putting just a tiny bit more lemon oil into our glaze. Once again, about 5 drops. If you're using lemon extract, it is not as strong as lemon oil, so you will want to do that to taste. And I'm just going to mix this together until it is smooth and all of our liquids are combined and there's no lumps with the confectioner's erythritol. Okay, everything is smooth. So I am going to try and unmold our cake from our ramekin while it is still warm, and I'm going to put it on another plate for presentation. Now, if you are making this for yourself, of course you don't need to do this, but I like it extra fancy. So I am trying to get it out of my vessel without too much work. Ta-da! Now here comes the super fun part. My Aunt Jeanette's cake was indeed a poke cake, and that is how we are going to incorporate the absolute most lemon flavor that you can get in a mug cake. So if you're not familiar, a poke cake utilizes poking the cake with a toothpick or something similar, and that is what I have here. And then we are going to pour our glaze on, and it's going to soak into our cake to provide the most moisture and flavor. So I'm just going to take my toothpick and do it all over the surface. And you can do it in any pattern that you would like. Of course, the more holes there are, then the more even your glaze is going to be. Poke cakes were incredibly popular in the 70s and 80s, the generation that I am from. And a lot of times a colored Jell-O product would be used, and that would actually make your cake inside a different color. Now that I have thoroughly poked our cake, I am going to slowly start adding our lemon glaze. And it's great if it also falls a little down the side of our cake. That just makes it extra pretty. And the flavors will just intensify the longer it sits. So you could actually do this ahead of time and let it sit for a few minutes while you're doing other things or finishing your dinner or another meal. Okay, so here is our Zesty triple lemon mug cake. And we are going to have our handsome helper taste test for us. So it's time for some triple lemon mug cake.
All right. Wow, that's zesty in a good way. It is really, it's bursting with flavor, really fresh. And if you like lemon, this is a triple lemon dessert in a good way, because it's not overpowering. So I'm not, like going crazy because of all the sourness, like sour candy, but it is a good flavor bomb of just lemon flavor. It puts the D in delicious. Thanks.